I have survived Pittsburgh. Happy belated Easter to everyone. Schassburger and David Kahn, the first of two podcasts this week. Special guest Trip Hurd, the Lock Doctor, will be joining David Kahn on Thursday because I'm off to Disney World after we finish this podcast. Well, tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. Eastern time, we'll hit the road. Godspeed to me, David Kahn. One thing is for certain, though, if I can survive a meeting with your parents, breaking bread over brunch on Sunday, and I know Larry is certainly listening, unsure about Amy. However, they were an absolute joy to meet for the first time on Sunday. It's amazing how much cooler your parents actually are than you. So, yes, that was easy to survive, okay? I'm not sure about Disney World, though, but I have them to lean on. I have a line to them as they're roughly an hour away or so. Should things go wrong this week and I need to escape my family. So I appreciate the ripcord, the parachute, the springboard that they have provided should I need it this week. Good to be with you, Con.
Yeah, good to be with you as well. It was great to have you and Ashley meet the parents. They were looking forward to meeting you as this face that they have seen on the podcast screen, and they were like, we got to meet Kyle Schassburger, the mustachioed man, not referring to Jack Cartsonis of West Virginia, who dealt once again. We'll get into that later. But yeah, they thoroughly enjoyed meeting you. Just warning you, because my dad has already created a group chat with the two of us. He's now going to send us podcast thoughts in that chat over and over and over again. I promise you, because I get them every podcast or every other one. So now we're both going to get them. I'm just warning you right now, and I'm going to apologize in advance. He means very well. It's just going to happen. I wanted to let you know off the top.
Look, it's okay. I will mute him without any hesitation, and it will be no bother to me. I will parachute in myself whenever I feel like it is a worthy and necessary time to be able to entertain whatever chat is coming on board. But he did pick up the tab on Sunday, so I am forever indebted to him in that regard. We will talk West Virginia and Kansas carrying the torch in the Big 12, Iowa leading the Big 10, the SEC continuing to confuse us in many ways. Unless you're Missouri, you're now 0-18 after you got swept by Oklahoma by a combined 46-12. I had the nugget as well, Con. You threw it on the dock. Thank you very much. We will also talk about North Carolina looking like a national seed potentially. We'll dip into each of the P4 leagues and give you some non-P4 love, too. I might save this for the final segment. We'll come back, give dudes, hat tips, SDAs, all of that. But I want a P4 vibe check because we talked a lot about Western Kentucky last week. But I want, Con, who your favorite might be to potentially host come the NCAA tournament as a non-P4. So we'll discuss some of that, preview the midweek action, the weekend, at least from my standpoint, since I won't be along on Thursday. That'll be Trip Hurd show. So there is so much to get to. But before we do, I have one more non-baseball related topic for you, Con. And you can feel free to just hammer away at any Pittsburgh related questions you may have. Permane Brothers.
I have a lot.
Permane Brothers was amazing. I'm so glad I was able to slide that in before hitting the road again. And I will say the most breathtaking view and city reveal I've ever seen. I tweeted that on Friday morning. Left at 2 a.m., North Carolina. Arrived at roughly 8:30 a.m. On Friday after a 6.5 hour drive. Whatever it may be, but you go through the Fort Mill Tunnel, and then the city is revealed to you. It is spectacular. It is breathtaking. Loved everything about Pittsburgh. But, Con, for you, you are now the proud owner of a new vehicle. Congrats, my friend. Congrats to you as you retire dear old Henry. And now you have basically the same vehicle, which I've already poked fun at you for. But, however, I've heard from others, hey, if you like it, stay with it. I don't subscribe to that sort of theory, which should come as no surprise to you. I need to, spice up my life in any way possible. New is better. Different is better. Embrace the uncomfortableness of a new situation, that sort of thing. I can get in my pulpit if you'd like over your new vehicle. However, I want to know, what is the new name for the new ride that you are now navigating around the streets of Winston-Salem?
It is Henrietta.
Come on, bro. The old car was called Henry, and now you're going with Henrietta? You're adding 2 more syllables? Yes. And you're changing its gender? You're all about keeping things the same, but you're making it a female, and you're adding a word salad with a Rita at the end? What is she, Hispanic?
No, the car was made in Canada, actually. No, it's Henrietta. It was. I tossed around a bunch of names, didn't really like a lot of them, and then I was at trivia last night with some friends, and they were like, well, "Why not just keep Henry and make it Henrietta?" And I was like, "Sounds great to me." So that's it. It's Henrietta. Simple, easy. I have learned that apparently when you have a car and you're a male, you're supposed to name the car a female name.
Yes.
And when you're a female, you're supposed to name the car a male name. So I already screwed up. All right. I already messed up for the last 11 years having a male named car. So I had to quickly remedy the situation with my new car, which is amazing. The engine is quieter than anything I've ever, experienced in my life. It's beautiful and I love it. But I had to remedy the situation quickly. So I had to get a name on the books in the first 24 hours of owning this vehicle. Henrietta was the one that stuck. So that's it. There it is. Henrietta is alive and well and purring and currently sitting in the Learfield garage. And I will protect her with my life.
I'm sure it's a good purr, though. Makes you feel good, right? You feel like you've leveled up in life. So
yes.
Congratulations to you, my friend. You're right. It's supposed to be a female. So you messed up big time. And here you are trying to, correct what is 10 years of mistaken will on your behalf. So welcome, Henrietta, to the family. A little too long for me. Either way, let me remind you, tailgate season.
Yours is the Juggernaut. So,
the Juggernaut is its shorthand name. It's
shorthand.
Real name. Yeah, its birth name is Laney. Laney Wilson.
Laney. Oh, okay. Laney. All right. Okay.
Laney Wilson goes by Laney. Okay. It's shorthand though, and there's nothing short about it because it is powerful. Would be the Juggernaut.
Yes, it is very powerful. I've been in the Juggernaut.
I have to say that very carefully. Juggernaut.
Yes. Yes, you do.
Tailgate season, go to baseballbarbecue.com. We have a discount code 3D-20. Over 45 different colleges are represented. All these custom-made, hand-quality baseball bat-related items. You got the bat on the end of the grill utensils. You got the baseball, the home plate, the wood-crafted cutting boards. You even have jersey outlines as well for over 45 different collegiate teams and partners at baseballbarbecue.com. 3D-20. So many different packages that you can curate, whether you want to buy a single tool or multiple tools. There's even some apparel items, Major League Baseball partners as well, and all the grilling items. Make sure you go to baseballbarbecue.com. So we're served up by them all season long. Promo code is 3D-20. My P4 vibe check, just to tease. My team that I think has the best chance of hosting is represented among those 45-plus school partners of Baseball Barbecue. So we will circle back to that one. I was in Baseball Barbecue's enemy territory, being in Pittsburgh, as Brent, who is our conduit, our liaison, our representative from the folks with Baseball Barbecue. They are headquartered in Philadelphia, which is not to be mistaken in any sort of the way to Pittsburgh. So did you have a question before we jump in to college baseball from this weekend on my trip to Steel City?
I mean, I have 1,000 questions, some of which I can't ask on a podcast. But I just want to know, did you actually make it to the Pirates game?
No.
Shocker.
No, well, we had every intention to do so. And really, I was fine. At this stage, it was, I think, 7-5. The game might have been in the second inning as we were walking across the bridge. There was still plenty of traffic coming in. We had ran home to the apartment, the Wyndham. It was spacious. It was luxurious. It was perfect locale right there in the front of this grassy pasture that you can that is the closest to the Three Rivers kind of connecting, or at least one of the tunnels that you can go under to find passage across the way over to the North Shore. And we spent most of our time on the North Shore. Not all of our time, but most of our time. We had come over to change, so we missed first pitch. That was fine. Donnie wasn't as keen on the idea. I kept trying to talk him into it. I'm like, look, let's just go for a couple innings. But while we went across the bridge, when we finally made our way back over to the North Shore for the evening and the game was underway, to be honest, I got everything I needed just at the top of the bridge, looking over the center field wall and seeing the field and seeing the fans and seeing, I couldn't see the game well or anything, but I just turning around and panning 360 degrees as a Kyle Schassburger may pan himself. I panned myself into happiness and pure joy. And that was everything I needed in that moment. It was exhilarating, and it gave me the PNC Park experience that I needed from that perch. And I was good. I was fulfilled. I checked it off the box. You see one. I don't want to say you see one ballpark, you see them all, but yeah, we could have gone in. We could have paid a little bit of money. We could have got a scalper. We would have found the cheapest thing possible. But, I was there. My idea of being at the ballpark, that was good enough for me and everything PNC Park represented.
Okay. I understand that. My more question was, the next day on your way to Permanente Bros, did you see the just throng of fans lining up for the Paul Skeens bobblehead giveaway because Paul Skeens was pitching on Saturday, which you were not at that game. I know that. You were already back in Winston-Salem. They were giving it away to 20,000 fans. The first 20,000, which I don't know if there's been 20,000 fans at a PNC Park game in a long time.
Fans are really unhappy with the Pirates locally, not just because of the decades of losing, but some of their decisions with the Roberto Clemente statue. Most recently, they even got rid of all these like fan bricks that bunch of messages were poured onto when that ballpark was first established, and over the years, without letting anyone know about it. So the Pirates are in a bad spot. They're not churning out many folks.
They are. They are. I wondered if you were in line or saw the line for that, or if you happened to snag like a rogue ticket on the ground, because if you have a ticket for that game, you can submit online an electronic voucher for a bobblehead, because so many fans were irate that they did not get their hands on this Paul Skeens bobblehead. They said, if you have a ticket for that game, you can go online, submit your voucher, and we will send you a voucher to get your bobblehead at a later date. And these bobbleheads are going for $150 plus right now on secondary markets online. Folks want the Paul Skeens bobblehead, baby.
Well, I would have purchased a ticket knowing that. I should have just purchased the ticket thinking that maybe that was a possibility. There was no way of knowing ahead of time, just so I can sell that thing and make some coin, because I'm not interested in having a Paul Skeens bobblehead. Listen, not to brag, but I've called 2 of his collegiate games, okay? Like, that's as close to a fanboy as I'm going to get. I just want to call your games, and I want to be in your aura and broadcasting your action. I don't need to shake your hand, get a picture, get a bobblehead, get a memento, get an autograph, any of those things. I'm well beyond that at that stage of my life, and I hope most broadcasters or those in the media would agree. So I'm not like enamored by the idea of going to Paul Skeens bobblehead day. If it was Friday, I may have been slightly more motivated to get to the ball game, but no, that's cool. I know people that's all the Pirates fans have. So I'm glad at least the organization can do one thing right, and that is honor anybody who had purchased a ticket beyond the 20,000 that they had promised to get that bobblehead to them. So I saw plenty of them walking to my car in the garage after 11 a.m. checkout down the streets. Very interesting transportation grid. Promise we'll get to college baseball in a moment. The city has some work to do on that. A lot of jagged edges, hexagon-style type intersections. I mean, you have to keep your head on a swivel, folks, when you're in the Steel City. But beautiful. I love the architecture, the buildings, the rivers, everything. I mean, the stadiums, the setup on the North Shore with that strip of street. I mean, they are doing it right. In Pittsburgh. There is no doubt about that. And Permane Brothers was the perfect cherry on top, although I drove around the restaurant's area for roughly 15 minutes trying to find parking. They got to do something with the parking situation. Also, and I didn't know if I was driving on actual streets either, because there's so much construction going on, and I didn't know if that was normal. It was very bizarre, but I was able to get into Permane Brothers, sat at the bar all by myself. Paid $11 and change, maybe $11.03 for the Pittsburgher with the fries on top. Got it how it was supposed to be done with the big thick bread. I mean, it was just a little dry. So I had to really douse it in all the hot sauce that they had there on the counter and go through a couple of waters. That would be my only pet peeve, but you're going to get that with that size bread. Other than that, delicious, man. Certainly, I didn't have any expectations going to Pittsburgh, to be honest, besides you telling me about Permane Brothers, which I had already known in the back of my mind, and certainly PNC Park and getting to see, Acrisure Stadium and the rivers and the scenes and all that. But I had no idea what to expect in terms of the reveal. And you mentioned it briefly, but in one ear, out the other. I don't care anything you have to say in terms of what you have to prepare me for in life, because it's not going to do it justice. I need to experience it myself. So, God, I'm on a heater today. But Permane Brothers was there, okay? And it fulfilled every inkling of needing a fix after, drinking roughly 30 beers or whatever it was on Friday. Right. It was glorious. It was spectacular. Yeah. Not that it was a low bar to clear, but I just knew it was a staple and I had to have it. And it certainly was immaculate. The drive home, not so much. But, I made it. I explored new country roads. Never made that turn off. You tell me the road. Was it 79 North that I turned off of?
You went to 79 North. You were normally you went to 77. Normally you'd go to 64, but you went to 79.
Yeah. 79. So that was all new. That was all new to me, that entire trip. I didn't know I was going to go by Morgantown. I'm surprised I didn't see a billboard for Pat McAfee, although that guy got choked out on Raw on Monday night. So
he sure did.
And he had Paul Heyman on his show, which is probably the biggest regret in ESPN history. I don't know if you saw any of that content floating around from the other day. I
did. I did not. I watched a little bit of WrestleMania Night 2. The The best match was the women's triple threat to start night 2.
With Liv?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite.
Yeah.
Yes. We had a lot. We had a lot of. Is it Rhea or Rhea? Ripley? Donnie and I had a lot of conversations about Rhea Ripley while we were in Pittsburgh. And she was on the Pat McAfee show that started this day-long pursuit of a Rhea Ripley alternative in the city of Pittsburgh.
No.
So it was a great conversation starter, though, as we scoured the streets of the Steel City. So,
I love it.
I might have to get back into wrestling because I feel like wrestling is getting back to what made them great when I was a kid. Everything I've been seeing over the last few weeks and certainly WrestleMania, I might have to dabble. I might have to get back in there. Not so much for John Cena, now 17-time WrestleMania world champion.
That was lame. That fight sucked.
I love his acting, okay? But get him out of the ring entirely now, okay? I'm over that. So
yeah. No, I enjoyed watching WrestleMania. Like I said, the best fight was the first one of the night 2. So I don't know if I'd want to get back into it, but it was fun thing to watch. My only other question for you is: has Donnie, or as you call him, the Duck, has he started fulfilling his obligations for going to Pittsburgh yet?
I hope so. There's a lot of science involved with that.
Yes,
anatomy,
there is.
Human anatomy.
Yes, there is.
I think he's been, brushing up on his instinctive skills, though. So I think
all right. Very good.
I think he's
very good. Should we talk baseball?
I think we can. Do you want to start it on those country roads, or would you like to pivot to the SEC because Texas A&M continues to dazzle and remain on their heater? Where do you want, or is it the TKO of one Danny Hall and Georgia Tech, 10-1 on the road, and now they're 10-4 after getting swept at Miami after we talked to the fine man on this program 1 week ago?
It's killing me. Let's start with Georgia Tech because it's killing me that we TKO'd the Yellow Jackets, but it's the theme of this podcast, right? Like it is what happens. You come on our show, and one way or another, bad things will probably happen to you. It's unfortunate. We don't intend on it. We want to support these teams. We want these teams to do well, but it has been the trend, the curse of Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers that if you are a guest on this podcast, bad things are coming. Cal Poly just lost 2 of 3 at UCSB. 2 weeks removed from having Larry Lee on the program.
And Georgia they lost Tech, the opener against Hawaii last week. At least we're able to rally. But yes, dropped 2 out of 3 this past weekend.
Right. And Georgia Tech gets swept at Miami by a final score of 21-6. They put up 2 runs in each of the 3 games in Coral Gables against the Hurricanes. And what do they have left on their slate? Virginia, Duke, and Louisville. It ain't easy for the Yellow Jackets. But Miami was the one they were supposed to get.
Yes.
And they got 3 times. We're so sorry, Danny Hall. I am severely questioning who I want to get on the podcast this week because I'm between Iowa, West Virginia, Northeastern, Austin Peay's in the mix. I don't want to TKO any of their seasons, but they're the relevant teams right now. That's who I want. That's who I'm deciding between who to email this afternoon after we finish this podcast. And I just don't know who I want to get because I don't want to TKO any of them.
Georgia Tech went from having a 3-game lead in the ACC to falling to 3rd place. Now, Florida State did not play, and our thoughts and prayers are with the entire Tallahassee community. The heinous crime that was committed that happened late on Thursday. Afternoon, so on Thursday. Yes, it was as our pod with Danny Hall had dropped Thursday morning. There was a shooting that claimed 2 lives, injured 6 others.
Terrible.
Just terrible stuff. And Florida State canceling all of their athletic activities, just softball and baseball was home. So now that those series got played for Florida State baseball, they're welcoming Virginia to town. So Virginia did not make the trip from Charlottesville. So FSU, if there's a way to benefit at all, and really that's a poor choice of words considering the circumstances of this past weekend, they did move up, I think, 1 spot. They're 4th in the top 25 rankings. They played just 1 game this past week because of the cancellation, but there was a lot of movement elsewhere. Maybe not as much in the top. Texas remains there, 33-5, 16-2. There's been a lot of teams at that number 1 spot. I don't know if you saw the tweet from Bradley Smart. Let me bring it up from D1Baseball.com. I saw it late last night, early this morning, as I was doing some just a few additional, preparation type things for this pod through 10 weeks of the season. This is from At Friday Starters, Bradley Smart. 42 different teams have found themselves in the D1 Baseball top 25. 42 total teams. Now, 12 teams, including current number 1 Texas, have been ranked every week. Longhorns have climbed from number 19 to number 1 since the beginning of the poll this year, the largest jump He's actually got a fantastic looking graph here that charts out all 42 of those teams and entering and exiting the top 25 polls. But to close the loop on Georgia Tech, they had been the biggest riser in those top 25 polls for 2 weeks, and now they plummet, was it 4, 5 spots after getting swept at Miami. So how do they rebound this week? They're going to have the aforementioned Virginia. It's one of my series that I'm looking ahead to this week. You'll hear me sprinkle in some of the weekend series just because I won't be on the pod with you on Thursday. So how will the Yellow Jackets respond at home against a Virginia team that didn't even play at all this past weekend?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? Because you have a Virginia team that, while they rested for the wrong reason, the worst type of reason because of what happened in Tallahassee, they are rested. They got a chance to recuperate, which a lot of teams, no teams really get this time of year, except for if you're North Carolina, because you have the first weekend of May off because of the wonky ACC scheduling, the way that matrix works. But Georgia Tech just played a 3-game series. They're kind of down on their luck after getting swept at Miami. Virginia had a weekend off. They got a chance to rest their arms. You get a chance to rejuvenate right before the home stretch of your conference season. Is that exactly what Brian O'Connor's team needs? I don't know. We'll see what happens with that.
You would think a team like that, you just want to keep playing, put your head down, trying to work through everything. It's not like you're cooling any sort of momentum. They need to be out there, and I'm not 100% sure where they are in the AC. I got the top 4. It's Florida State, who is leading the league.
Virginia's now. 6th, I think.
Okay,
I think Virginia's 6th,
middle of the pack, maybe top half, but right there
they are top half. Yeah.
Okay, Florida State at 1. Clemson at number 2. Clemson is the second-ranked team in the country, 2 spots ahead of Florida State, but Florida State, having not played this past weekend, is still ahead overall in the standings. Georgia Tech at 3. NC State is at 4, and then UNC is at 5 in the ACC. And North Carolina ranked 8th this week, took 2 out of 3 from Virginia Tech. Tempers were flying. It was a high-octane series. There were some ejections throughout that one. It was in Blacksburg, right?
Yes, in Blacksburg.
Yeah, UNC improves to 31-9. They got an RPI of 8, 19-9 in quad 1 and quad 2. 5 straight ACC series wins now for North Carolina. That's since dropping their first League One against Stanford.
Yes, but you have to look at the remaining schedule when you consider, they're in the top 8 right now. If the season ended today, they'd likely be a national seed, top 8 national, hosting until the College World Series. They do go to Pitt next, and Pitt's garbage. So, they should take care of business there. But then they have NC State, and they close the season at Florida State. Those are 2 very difficult series for UNC to close the year. Now, they win those, they are locked as a top 8 national seed. But that's a tough slate to close for North Carolina, despite all the great success they have, winning 2 of 3 at Virginia Tech, climbing to number 8 in the RPI, and winning 5 straight ACC series in a row, like you said. By the way, Virginia's tied for 8th in the ACC with Miami. I just looked. But that is a tough last 2 series of the year, because North Carolina goes at Pitt off, no series the first weekend of May, versus NC State at Florida State. So those 2 last series of the slate will be very, very contentious in terms of seeding for the ACC tournament in Durham and who gets to be a host seed, because there's a lot of ACC teams in contention for that right now, as is the case for the SEC, but that's what we normally see throughout the course of the year.
How about the work by Oregon State to this point, as they were scuffling maybe in that first third of the season, but they have worked their way all the way up to number 3 now in the top 25 rankings, right behind Clemson. As an independent, too, let's not forget, they built their own schedule because of the exodus of the Pac-12. Oregon State sitting at number 9 in RPI at 31-7. They're 12-1 at home, 10-3 on the road. They're 22-0 against quad 3 or worse. Just 9-7 in quads 1 and quad 2. Big opportunity for them coming up this weekend. They go to Eugene, I believe, for the weekend series, and then they play in the midweek as well. So they got 4 straight games coming up against the Ducks, who took 2 out of 3 from UCLA. Is there anything else on the ACC, though? I know I kind of jumped there to Oregon State, just kind of rounding out the top 5 of the rankings with Florida State at 4, as mentioned. Arkansas falls to 5 after dropping 2 of 3 to Texas A&M. Tennessee's at 6. They'll visit 7th-ranked LSU this weekend. So Oregon State getting in the top 5. Carolina at 8. We left off with the Tar Heels. Anything else stand out on the ACC, or do you want to bounce elsewhere?
Besides Clemson being a wagon, and Cam Cannarella making one of the catches of the year this past weekend.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but like Clemson's been there, right? You said number 2 team in the country right behind Texas. Like they're studs. You're going to see Cam Cannarella's catch later on in the show. Just a little tease for our backyard breakdown segment that's coming up with Cam Cannarella, one of 3 home run robberies that we will feature for you here on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers as part of our backyard breakdown segment presented by our friends at Backyard Baseball Bros and their Borgo balls, which they are possibly dropping another new Borgo ball. They just debuted another potentially variety of a color for a Borgo ball on social media not too long ago. So
yeah, Backyard Baseball. Hang on, backyardbaseballbros.com. Go there right now. Pause the show. Whatever. Come back. Open another tab. It's the Ocean Storm Ball. The Ocean Storm Ball. It's incredible. First limited edition coming soon. A storm is brewing, and you're one of the first to witness our first ever limited edition Borgo Ball. Backyardbaseballbros.com.
Yes. Thank you for that, Kyle Schassburger. Should we talk about a team that Oregon State is going to play as a part of their independent schedule? That is the Big Ten leading Iowa Hawkeyes. Oregon State does have a series against Iowa in Des Moines, though, not in Iowa City. It's a neutral site series, quote unquote, but it's in Des Moines. So that is one of the remaining series for Iowa and Oregon State. They will play in Des Moines. But how about Iowa? 27-11, 17-4 in the Big Ten. They've won 4 in a row. Their RPI just jumped 36 spots up to 57 from in the 90s. Most recently for the Iowa Hawkeyes, first in the Big Ten by 2.5 games over UCLA, 3 games over Oregon. They just went to Ann Arbor and broomed the Wolverines of Michigan. They've won all 7 of their Big Ten series. Rick Heller in his 12th season trying to get Iowa back to the postseason for the second time in the last 3 years, but possibly win the Big Ten regular season crown for the first time since 1990. How about that for Iowa?
You know who they played tonight? Western Illinois.
The Leathernecks.
The alma mater. Watch out.
And then they get Indiana this weekend. Indiana at Washington, neutral versus Oregon State, Oregon to close the year. So they play the upper echelon of the Big Ten to close the slate if you're Iowa. So nothing will be easy for Rick Heller's squad, but the path is there for them to take the title.
So they swept at Michigan this past weekend. That's what caused the jump in 36 spots, as you illustrated. Here's the thing about Iowa. Shotgun Spratling had this number, also at D1Baseball.com. Iowa has not played the West Coast yet. Any of the teams, any of the new Big Ten teams from the West Coast. So 17-4, they played 21 league games, but they have not played USC, UCLA, Washington, or Oregon. So that finish, as you've already talked about just a little bit, will conclude with at Washington against Oregon. Okay. The Oregon State's here, not Big Ten. Okay. But they have the series against Oregon State, all coming up in May. So the difficulty level is going to be ticked up quite a bit. And I think they got to, watch out for Indiana coming into their house this weekend, because Indiana, not that they're flying under the radar by any means, but they've kind of cooled off here relative to their expectations. And it's the Big Ten. Like it's still hard for me to rule out any one of these teams, at least in the top half, of making some sort of a run if the schedule works in their
6
favor.
Teams that are in there.
Yeah, for sure. So UCLA is number 2 in the conference. Oregon remains number 3 in spite of winning 2 out of 3 from the Bruins this past weekend. And Kahn, I know you have some sound that you want to fire off that I asked you to display for the folks listening to Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers, wherever it might be you podcast, including on our YouTube pages. We're coming to you live right now, Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. I watched this game, and I watched this moment happen in Game 3, rubber matchup on Sunday after UCLA tied the game at 6 in the 8th. Oregon coming up and answering with a huge bottom half of the inning in Eugene.
First pitch, Mabius drives it deep to left field. West back, West track, West runs out of room. Berkeley Mabius opposite way, solo shot. Oregon leads 7-6. Second home run of the year for the freshman. Puts the Ducks in front on Sunday.
Wasted no time, aggressive against the new arm. Big fly, big moment for the freshman. Fired up in the Oregon dugout.
Ryan Milano, Joey McMurray from Learfield. Same high school as Yankees catcher Austin Wells.
Oh,
That's Berkeley Mabius, who had the Oppo Taco in the 8th inning. Just his second career home run, the freshman, second of the season. Had only 3 his senior year in high school at Bishop Gorman High School. So getting tutored, getting mentored by some of the same guys who had their hands all over Austin Wells. I had to look up Austin Wells because I wasn't as familiar. I'm not the Yankees fan. Kahn is becoming a closet Yankees fan.
Nope.
How dare I? How dare I say such a thing on the podcast?
Nope,
right?
Not happening.
I hope
Never.
your father hears that one.
It's not true, Dad. He is listening. He did text us right at the beginning of the podcast. No, that's not happening.
Okay,
I will never be a Yankees fan. Never.
Austin Wells went to Arizona. Also, Bishop Gorman, same high school as Mabius, who had the go-ahead home run for Oregon after UCLA had tied in the 8th. By the way, part of a 4-run 8th inning for the Ducks as they took 2 out of 3 from UCLA. Really, any one of those 3 games could have gone either way, though. UCLA still positioned better, but UCLA has not won a series against an NCAA tournament team or game, except for one team only at this point on UCLA's entire schedule, and that is Cal Poly. The Bruins with an RPI of 17. But back to Austin Wells, God, as I was going down a rabbit hole, Austin Wells has a terrific mustache, a well-mustached man that I think I kind of favor slightly if it weren't for being bald myself. And then you look at Mabius, the freshman Oregon Ducks catcher. He reminds me of a poor man's Ryan Gosling, or perhaps even he's got a sinister, happy-go-lucky grin of one Pete Wheeler from the Backyard Baseball brand.
Yes.
Video game.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I love everything about what you just said.
Yeah.
That I like. Also, Austin Wells, great mustache.
Great mustache. Very thick. Thick with a triple C. It's not as... mine got a little bit tighter over the weekend before I went back out Friday night to the North Shore in Pittsburgh. I was able to come home and kind of, do a little bit of work around it, just a little high and tight.
Got to look good for the pictures at Disney World, right? I mean, you got.
Yeah, this is all in preparation for Disney World. All in preparation for Disney World. Oregon at 27-11, 14-7. Again, those games, 2-1 Oregon and 10-6 in games 1 and games 3. UCLA won 14-4 in the middle game. That was in a run rule, but either of those other two certainly paved the way, or at least made you think that after watching those and looking at the box scores that either team could have took that series, but Oregon able to hold serve at home.
Yes, they were. You want to go to the SEC or you want to go to the Big 12, which is becoming a 4-horse race right now?
Yeah, let's try to save the SEC for last. How about that? Because I think we made a concerted effort to do that last week, although it really, let's be honest, it's blasphemous that we don't start with the SEC each and every week. Sorry, I just destroyed all the goodwill that we built for not talking SEC out of the gates.
What are you doing? I have a question on your question on the SEC, so we'll get to that after we go through the Big 12. You want to start with West Virginia or Kansas? Because I got notes on both.
Kansas sweeps Kansas State, and WVU remains perfect. Perfect week. They've won 14 in a row. That's really all I got, and I'm looking ahead to Kansas and West Virginia in Morgantown at the end of the regular season. Mountaineers with a 3-game lead on KU at this stage of the season. But, man, those two are going to hook up. It'll be fireworks in that final weekend.
Yeah, so let's start with West Virginia, right? 34-4, 13-3 in the Big 12. They've won 14 in a row, their longest winning streak of the season after back-to-back sweeps in the Big 12 of Utah, Houston, and Cincinnati. They started the year 13-0, if you remember, one of the final 4 unbeatens in college baseball. Their RPI is now up to 14, first place in the Big 12 over Kansas, Arizona, and TCU, who are all knotted at 12-6 in conference records. Remember, Arizona, that's the only series loss West Virginia has had all season that came in Morgantown. Of course, I was on the call for that series. Apologies, boys in Morgantown. They don't play TCU, and they end the regular season, like you mentioned, with Kansas in Morgantown. Their other remaining foes, UCF, Texas Tech, Kansas State. Kansas State's kind of fallen off a little bit. UCF's had a rough season, and Texas Tech's been hit or miss. They were combined 24-30 in the Big 12, those 3 teams. So the path is there for West Virginia to go the rest of the way and set up for a Big 12 winner-take-all series against the Kansas Jayhawks in Morgantown, May 16th to the 18th. Looking at this team, it is impressive. They are so balanced. They have the top average in the Big 12 at 317. They've swiped 89 stolen bases. That's more of the same. That's West Virginia baseball to a T. They have the best ERA in the conference at 3.72. Jack Cartsonis inserted into the Sunday role for the last 2 starts for the Mountaineers, and he has been just dominant. 13 innings, 3 hits allowed, 12 strikeouts, and only 1 unearned run for Jack Cartsonis. Maybe they have found that answer in that Sunday role behind Griffin Kern and Gavin Van Kempen for West Virginia. They got the best winning percentage in the nation at 89.5%, and they are tied for the second most wins in the country at 34. Clemson is the only one who's better than them at 35 as they prepare to face Penn State tonight in Happy Valley, and then on the road in Orlando at UCF for 3 this weekend, who has the second best average and the third best ERA in the Big 12. So that'll be a juicy series down in Orlando for the Mountaineers who try and get one on the road.
Juicy. Thank you, our resident West Virginia Mountaineer and David Kahn with that report. I know I can count on you each and every week. You might as well just go West Virginia oriented if you're trying to get a guest on alongside Tripp this week. What are y'all planning for this pod? I mean, do I need to tune in as I'm waiting to board a roller coaster or a teacup of some kind Thursday?
So for those who are uninitiated, who have not watched other CSN programming with Tripp Hurd, the Lock Doctor, all right? This will be a gambling-focused podcast, a betting-focused podcast. Not necessarily saying go, put your money on things. We'll be talking all things Vegas, odds, gambling, because that is what the Lock Doctor does, right, Schass? He pores over the record books. He pours into the odds makers. He contacts Vegas directly. I mean, he has the inside track, the all-knowing knowledge of what are the bets you need to place to go ahead and make some hard-earned cash off of the folks in Vegas. So if you want to know how to make a quick buck in the next month or so, listen to Thursday's pod, because Tripp Hurd, the Lock Doctor, at Locks of the Doc on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, will be giving us Golden Spikes odds. He'll be giving us Omaha odds, College World Series national champion odds. So listen in, dial in, and if gambling is your thing, do with that what you may. We're just going to give you the information, what Vegas tells us, and how Tripp interprets what Vegas is telling us and what that means, what he likes, his favorites. It may not be the top dog right now. He may like a dark horse. He usually does like a dark horse. So we'll throw some picks out there. We'll talk about your and my preseason Golden Spikes picks and 8 for Omaha, see how well they're doing in terms of the Vegas odds. We'll get into a whole myriad of things. Then I'll have an interview. Maybe I'll have a West Virginia interview. We'll see. Maybe we'll get Grant Hussey or Jack Cartsonis or Chase Meyer or Reese Bassinger or Jace Reinhardt. There's a million guys I could go get for the Mountaineers right now to be on this podcast. So we'll see. It's all up in the air, but looking forward to having the Lock Doctor on the podcast for the first time on the baseball edition of CSN.
Tripp Hurd subscribes to the theory, as do I, with our Phil Steele show that we do in the fall with the Godfather himself, author of college football's most accurate preview magazine for 30 years running. Bet smarter, not harder.
Yes.
And the Lock Doctor will help to provide the key to unlock you to never-ending fulfillment. Not really. Really, it's a coin flip. Less than a coin flip. However, you will be entertained by whatever Tripp has prepared for you coming up on Thursday. And it's not so much about the plays, but it's the reasons behind the plays that will certainly draw a laugh. And look, it's for you to determine whether or not you're picking up what he's putting down more than anything. So I know y'all will have a lot of fun on Thursday for the second podcast this week. Okay, just close the loop on the Big 12. What I have remaining, looking ahead to Kansas State now, how do they respond after getting swept by in-state rival Kansas in the Sunflower Showdown? They're at home this weekend against Houston. K-State has fallen off a cliff. I mean, they've lost 9 of 12. And Houston got a series split in Stillwater. Did you see footage of the crowd on Sunday for Easter?
No.
At O'Brate?
I did not.
So Saturday's game got canned for weather. They had to battle the elements all weekend long. Houston won game 1. OK State won game 3, which was essentially game 2. They only played 2 games, but game 3 almost didn't go official. Todd Whiting, the head coach of Houston, got ejected during some similar antics of what we saw with Kentucky on the road at Texas A&M going up against a travel curfew, which I think was around 4:05 Central Time, Easter Sunday. Nobody's there. It already took them an hour and a half, I think, to even start this game because of weather in the area. There was nobody in this place. I mean, some of the highlights from ESPN Plus or wherever these games were airing, I
did see
ESPN
that
Plus,
actually. Yes.
There was nobody there. It looked like a COVID game. Like if no one was there, did the game really happen? Did they pump sound artificially into a break just for the Pokes and for the Cougs? I don't know. But, Holiday, OK State's head coach. I get my Holidays mixed up. That's Josh, right? Josh is OK State. Hang on. Confirming. Yes, Josh Holiday.
Yeah, Josh Holiday. Yes.
Yeah, head coach. There's too many Holidays out there. My God. The Holiday family, all right? Josh is out there trying to battle against a game. Let's see. Resumed a second time at 3:15. Houston had chartered to Stillwater via flight. The game already had a 4:05 drop dead time. Well, in the top of the ninth inning top of the fourth inning, because the game had to get to 5, okay? Right. Nebraska is stalling in every which way they can. Multiple strategy-based timeouts were taken in between at-bats, exaggerated attempts to drop the bats due to rainy weather, getting your hands dry, wiping down the bat head. All of these, we can say Bush League things, which sure, but it all speaks to, it's a game that's not meant to be timed. If we're timing the game, these things are going to happen. So they're all within, the constraints of what one would expect if we're trying to force the issue, and there's a team playing from behind who is looking to manipulate the situation as best they can where they don't lose that ball game, or in Kentucky's case earlier this year at Texas A&M, that they win the ball game because they are already ahead. In this situation, Houston's trying to prevent the game from going official. Whiting gets tossed. Josh Holiday's out there. He even said afterwards, he wasn't coy. He said, quote, they were trying to prolong the game until 4:05, which is certainly a strategic play that anybody who knows baseball knows it wasn't really a game that was meant to be timed. But in recent years, we decided to time it. So anytime you add time and clocks to a game that wasn't invented by the clock, strange things might occur. That's what you saw. So, he's not going to lose sleep over it. They ended up completing the game, so they got it in, and Oklahoma State won. But just very bizarre things had happened in Stillwater this past weekend.
It did, and here's my thing. Why are we playing any games on Easter Sunday? We shouldn't be. That should be a mandated Thursday through Saturday series. And I get it, TV probably had something to do with it. They were like, we got to put some games on Easter Sunday. Yeah. But I don't like that. I think that should be a day off for college athletics. Just no. Thursday through Saturday, the whole weekend, just like we do for the last weekend of the regular season for college baseball. All right? Thursday through Saturday. Or play a doubleheader. I don't care. Friday and a doubleheader Saturday. Just don't play Sunday. I think that was because you had nobody there. Oklahoma State lost money on that game because they opened the stadium and they had 15 people in the stands. So that adds to the bizarreness of this. I do want to give a couple of notes on Kansas, by the way, because I feel like we kind of brushed over them a little bit after sweeping Kansas State for their third Big 12 sweep of the season. Two of their dudes, their offense is insane, by the way. They are electric offensively. 80 home runs. First in the Big 12 as a team by 16 home runs. It's a new single-season home run record for Kansas. Brady Bellinger, 13 homers, 41 runs batted in. Jackson Hauge, 17 homers, 60 runs batted in. Those two have combined for 30 homers and 101 runs batted in. So watch out for those two amongst a vaunted Kansas offense. The pitching is where I question, do the Jayhawks have the ability to close this out? Because their ERA is 4.72, and beyond Cooper Moore, who's their bona fide ace, it's kind of a piecemeal situation for them right now. They got some good moments out of the bullpen this weekend against Kansas State, but can they preserve it against the upper echelon of Big 12 teams? Now, the lucky thing for Kansas is they really aren't going to face anybody good until West Virginia at the end of the regular season. They go to Utah, who's last of the Big 12. They host Cincinnati, who's 8th in the Big 12. And then they host BYU, who's 13th, so second to last in the Big 12 conference. So they play the two of the bottom three teams in the conference over the next 3 weeks, and then they close out West Virginia. So Kansas has a very clear path to going into Morgantown, having an opportunity to win to win all these series and set up a Big 12 series or tournament, Big 12 crown deciding series in Morgantown the final weekend of the regular season. The question is, can the pitching, round into shape before they face West Virginia in Morgantown? Because like I mentioned, West Virginia's got the best average in the Big 12 and the best ERA, and they allow the third fewest homers. So those 80 home runs probably going to be mitigated that weekend when they go into Morgantown to face West Virginia.
Yeah, and I think it's a manageable stretch for West Virginia until Kansas, right?
Yep.
Don't you think they have the easier path?
I think Kansas does, yeah.
You think Kansas has a more manageable path to get to that final weekend? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, because of the fact that, like, UCF has a winning record, Texas Tech doesn't, Kansas State does. Utah and BYU are just horrendous. Like, they're just not good. And you get two of those, and they have two of their three series at home too. So that's why. And I like at West Virginia's at UCF, at Kansas State. So tougher to go two of those three on the road before you come home to face Kansas. So I'll give Kansas the nod. I could easily see both these teams winning all three of those series, shaping up for a deciding series in Morgantown the final weekend of the regular season. But if you want me to choose a side, I'll take Kansas over West Virginia to have an easier road to that final weekend. By the way, Kansas has not made the NCAA tournament since 2014.
Oh, my goodness.
Longest drought in the Big 12.
For those of you watching on YouTube, you might notice my hat. It looks like a gorilla, but really it's a Sasquatch of some kind. Okay. This is me supporting my boy Brendan Emery, who had the Lenore Legends summer collegiate team from a year ago. They have since rebranded, so I'm waiting on Brendan to get me potentially a new hat or new shirt. They have moved from Lenore to Sawmills in North Carolina. They're the Sawmills Timber Kings. Timber Kings. And it's got a very BA logo as well. So I look forward to showing off some of that. SEC. Okay, let's get there. Then we'll break. We'll come back. Backyard breakdown. Also, I want to know your favorite P4 team that can host at this stage with 4 regular season weeks remaining. Dudes, hat tips, SDAs. Then I'm off to Disney World, and Trip Hurd will warm my seat on Thursday. Did you see how many bases Kentucky stole against Tennessee?
No, tell me.
Okay. 16 steals by the Wildcats in the final 2 games alone.
What?
They had 10 stolen bases in one game, including 8 against Vols pitcher Marcus Phillips. Phillips has allowed 30 stolen bases in 48 2/3 innings. Steal on Marcus Phillips. The book is out. Tennessee drops their second home series with Kentucky in town, but their second home series in a single year for the first time since 2021. The Vols allowed 7 steals against Ole Miss. Prior, those issues became compacted to the tune of 16 over the final 2 games. One pitcher in particular being picked on endlessly in Marcus Phillips, and Kentucky is able to, it took a rubber game, is able to take 2 out of 3 at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. There are some warts on this Tennessee team. Kentucky, this is what they do. The biggie boxes, the Mingione way, the small ball, they're not going to hit for power, but they're going to steal. They're going to run on you. They're going to get aggressive. They're going to bunt. And really, it all came to perfection this weekend at Tennessee. So that's one major SEC no-com. And then let me hit on A&M quickly, and then I'll let you react and spill the beans with other teams as you may. A&M 2-1. They take 2 out of 3 at Arkansas. Their RPI has gone from 114 to 38 since what was a 1-8 SEC start. Over the first 3 series, where they averaged 4.4 runs per game, had 10 home runs over the first 3 SEC weekends, and an OPS of 718. Since then, the next 3 SEC series, they've won 7 out of 9 games, tied for the second best mark among all SEC teams. Texas, I would imagine, would maybe be the other, given they just swept Auburn and now hold a 3-game lead on Arkansas and a 4-game lead on third-place LSU. But over the last 3 weeks for Texas A&M, 9.7 runs per game. That's more than 5 more runs over the last 3 weeks compared to the first 3 weeks of the league season. They've hit 15 more homers, 25 in total, and an OPS of 982. What the hell has gotten into the Aggies? Kentucky got into the Aggies. That's what happened.
I mean, the crazy thing about this is who they're doing it against, right? Like winning series on the road against Tennessee and Arkansas. The win against South Carolina has been on the bottom tier of the SEC this year, so not surprising. But going to Lindsey Nelson, going to Baum Walker, and winning a pair of series against the Vols and the Razorbacks, impressive stuff for Texas A&M. And they still have to face Texas, LSU, and Georgia. They've still got to face, so their RPI has a chance to skyrocket if they win those series as well. Texas A&M and Texas this weekend. It's Jim Schlossnagle versus Michael Early. We've been waiting for it all year. We had this weekend circled on the calendar. If you watch any college baseball all weekend, watch this series. It's going to be electric. I can't wait for it. That is certainly one to watch coming up this weekend. Now, you still have to watch the win total for Texas A&M, right? We were watching the loss total for Missouri. It was now 0-18 after getting swept by Oklahoma. You have to watch the win total for Texas A&M in the SEC because they are 8-10 in the SEC right now. Generally speaking, 13 is that benchmark that gets teams into the postseason. They're going to Hoover. Everyone's going to Hoover this year. We know that. They're going to Hoover. Everyone's going to Durham, all that stuff. But 13 has generally been that tier that if you have 13 or more, you're going to the postseason. And A&M's playing like a postseason team right now, but you still got to get 5-6 more wins.
Yeah, they got 12 more games, Texas. Man. They got this. They got this.
You got to play Texas, LSU, and Georgia.
They got this.
Do they got this?
They're going to win at least one of those series. At least one. Based on the way they're playing the last 3 weeks, they might win 2 or 3 of those series. They're not going to win them all.
They might.
Right? They're going to come down to earth. I mean, we wouldn't be surprised at this point. But 5 more games, come on. I think they surefire lock. As much as I want to continue to endorse what Texas A&M is doing, I think Schloss is going to have the last laugh because this series is at home. So coming up this weekend, the series, to your point, that every college baseball fan has been waiting for. I just wish it was in Bryan-College Station at Bluebell Park. Instead, it's going to be in Austin, Texas hosting Texas A&M. I do think the Horns are going to win 2 out of 3 in that one. I would love to see, though, the Aggies pull off another series win. I just don't think it's going to happen. Max Wiener and Jim Schlossnagle and the Longhorns, Ryan Galvan, all those boys, I think are going to have the upper hand. Just too talented. They're a wagon just as much as Texas A&M is starting to potentially turn into one. It's just, is it too late now for them to be able to, find the form that we thought they had preseason? They'll be in Hoover, to your point. I think they're going to get into the NCAA tournament. They're going to win those 5 games over the remainder of the SEC regular season. The other SEC games I was looking at was Arkansas and Florida. How do the 5th-ranked Hogs now respond after getting to number 1 and then dropping 2 consecutive series? Florida, meanwhile, has won 2 consecutive series. They took 2 out of 3 from Mississippi State this past weekend. And then Tennessee, who we just chronicled, they'll be visiting LSU, took 2 out of 3 at home against Alabama. Watching game 3 of that series, which was the game Alabama had won. This is when I got home from Pittsburgh. Roughly 6:30 Kahn on Saturday. I queued up the SEC network, and what was I blessed with as I laid my head down on a pillow, and I couldn't even go to sleep because Ben McDonald, I think, is the best analyst, period, across any sport that we have to consume on television. Would you agree? Him and Tom Hart, incredible chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
I love Tom Hart, but I love Ben McDonald even more. We got How to Eat Crawfish 101, a tutorial with crawfish from Tony Seafood. I mean, my gosh, it's not even home for me, okay? So it's not homesick, but you want to be just jealous to the nth degree of a place and reminded of a time where you spent a significant part of your life. My daughter was born in Baton Rouge, and now Tony Seafood is on national television with Ben McDonald teaching people how to eat crawfish. And Tom Hart, of course, playing into it, like playing dumb, like it is in his first. I know he's not the connoisseur that Ben McDonald is, but Ben McDonald teaching an entire society, all of America, how to do it. He's got Charles Barkley vibes. He's got Shaquille O'Neal vibes. I don't know if you saw the cut from Inside the NBA on Monday night, but Shaq might have shacked himself, if you will. He had to get up from live TV from the set and walk away. And the way the gate was swinging, it looked as if he might have had an accident and didn't trust to fart. Or at least you should know not to trust to fart. And Shaq made the wrong decision, a business decision that was the wrong one. And, of course, Kenny Smith, Chuck, Ernie, all eating it up. But Ben McDonald is cut from the same cloth in terms of being able to provide the most insightful details in a broadcast, more so than a Chuck or Shaq. I mean, they're more studio element, but the entertainment value of what Ben McDonald brings to the booth. I love it. I love it. There's nothing like it.
No, I'd agree with you 100%. That's awesome. I wish I had seen that going on. My Saturday was a little preoccupied, but I wish I could have seen that moment because that's tremendous work from Ben McDonald. Him and Tom Hart are phenomenal. Kyle Peterson, I also would throw in there as one of the best there is as well. KP Omaha, of course, joining for the College World Series coverage in Omaha at the Charles Schwab Field, which Omaha Schass is 2 months away.
It is
2 months from the College World Series. You said the SEC was confusing you. And I just wanted to ask you why, because I get it. Some of the results are a little bit perplexing, with Ole Miss losing 2 of 3 to South Carolina, Vandy sweeping Georgia, Auburn getting swept by Texas could be considered confusing because they just won a pair of series against Bama and LSU against top 10 teams. Tennessee dropping 2 of 3 at home to Kentucky. But what's confusing about that, because the SEC is it's a gauntlet of a conference. 10 teams are in the top 25. Top 6 in the RPI are all in the SEC. 15 of the 16 teams are in the top 50 in the RPI. They're the top Power 4 average team and ERA team are from the SEC, with Arkansas and Texas. So I'm just curious what's confusing to you about the fact that these teams can beat each other up.
Confusing is me putting it on the dock so we can just talk about it, and then you trying to turn it against me like I need to be thrown in a straitjacket or in prison. The point is just that, Kahn. They're all cannibalizing themselves, and any team can sweep any team unless your name is Missouri or South Carolina. But yay on Paul Maneri for taking 2 out of 3 and getting his first SEC series win as a head coach in an SEC school not named LSU this past weekend. But teams like Vanderbilt getting swept by, who was it?
No,
Auburn.
They swept Georgia. Vanderbilt swept Georgia this weekend.
But they got swept by Auburn at home, right? And then they come back and sweep Georgia. I mean, it's just back and forth, but it speaks to the point that this is the premier baseball conference with the best RBIs, with the most talent, with the most robust rosters, facilities, head coaches, and any team can win on any given weekend. Tennessee losing 2 home series for the first time in 4 years illustrates my point exactly. We're seeing things that maybe we thought were becoming routine and rhythmic, with Tennessee being a wagon or a juggernaut of sorts, but then not so fast. We see LSU go on the road. They're a top 7 team, but they get swept by Auburn for the first time in 36 years 2 weeks ago. Okay. It's very back and forth, which is what best illustrates how entertaining and the parity behind this league. That's all.
No, I love it. The word confusing, I guess, confused me, but I see your point behind it now. That we are seeing.
You are confused by me bringing up a potentially confusing point for us to discuss on the show.
That's correct. Yeah. So I dove into the numbers, as I always do, and I was like, well, this doesn't confuse me. Further illustrates the point. I got like we got by the Charleston River Dogs not too long ago with their April Fool's joke that they pulled on March 31st.
Can we take a break an hour into the show so I can breathe for a second, and we could try to do maybe 20 more minutes and get the hell out of here? Okay.
All right. We'll be back in just a moment on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers.
A true teammate takes on every day with a winner's attitude, gets up when they fall down, and leaves it all on the field. There's a group of teammates who do all these things every single day. But they're more than your typical athlete. They're kids dealing with unthinkable medical circumstances. Team Impact matches children facing serious illness or disability with college sports teams, creating a long-term, life-changing experience for everyone involved. Help us get all kids in the game. Visit teamimpact.org. Team Impact. All in, all together.
College softball season is in full swing, and we're just the ones to talk about it. Join me, former Florida Gators All-American Amanda Lorenz, and my co-host, Jennifer Sarah, every week as we deliver the latest in college softball on the D1 Softball Podcast. We've got all the latest, whether it is in the circle or in the batter's box. We have interviews with coaches, players, and more. We'll go through the week's top 25 poll and give our insights, as well as our plays, wins, and whiffs of the week. Let us get you in the know on all things college softball. Listen on d1softball.com and the Varsity Network app.
You will give us our backyard breakdown delivered by Borgo Ball. Again, backyardbaseballbros.com is where you can go. They've got a new ball that is set to debut here soon, the Ocean Storm. Again, revolutionizing what is indoor baseball, designed for the perfect grip, with the seams to most mimic a real baseball. But look, it's fun. It's safe. You don't need a glove. You can play in the house. Mom will at least be more willing to allow ball playing in the house. You can play outside as well. You can take it on certain travel events, travel tournaments on the road, or just use it again in the comfort of your own home, your backyard, the streets, whatever it may be. Lightweight, safe, and ridiculously fun. Appreciate the Bergonio brothers and all who have allowed us to collaborate with them here this college baseball season. So the backyard baseball moment that delivered. And there are a few of them, all with a little bit of a defensive flavor there, David Kahn.
Yes. We're going to go backyard breakdown this week, presented by Borgo Balls. It's home run robbery theme this week, folks. Schass, where would you like to go? Would you like to go to Seattle? Would you like to go to Clemson? Or would you like to go to Cal State Monterey Bay first for our home run robbery?
I think we got to keep the West Coast flavor, but the state of California, not Washington, because that's where the Borgo Ball was born. The Bergonio brothers are from Cali, so let's go to what is Cal State University, Monterey Bay. Let's do it.
Yes, Cal State Monterey Bay. Here we go. Here's the first video reposted by our friends at Steven Shock. This is for Cal State Monterey Bay. Look at that man climb the wall and hang and grab the baseball and bring it back down for our first home run robbery. Look at those ups, Kyle Schassburger from KW Quilisi of Cal State Monterey Bay. Look at that man's reaction, number 10, going, what just happened? I agree. What the heck just happened with KW Quilisi of Cal State Monterey Bay? That was an insane home run robbery, and we'll keep the robberies going as we go from Cal State Monterey Bay, stay on the West Coast. We flip over to Seattle, up the West Coast. The Washington Huskies also had an absolutely insane home run robbery from Malachi Knight. Here it comes. In the top of the third inning, scoreless game, Washington and Illinois. There goes Malachi, leaping and slamming into the UW Medicine wall or signage and snaring the baseball to take away a home run from Illinois at the top of the third. And it pops right up, gets his hat and his glasses back from his teammate, and that ends the inning. So phenomenal play. You'll get one more look at it right here. Deep fly ball into right center field. Knight on his horse, just foregoing any kind of safety on his body, going right over that yellow line. You can see his wrist snapping into that fence as he snares the baseball for the out there. So there is their second home run robbery, and then we already teased this one at the start of the podcast as we go across the country to the East Coast, Clemson, South Carolina. Video shared courtesy of our boy Jack DeLongshaw, who was boots on the ground at Doug Kingsmore Stadium this weekend and
Flops
saw
on
this
the ground.
beauty of a play. Flops on the ground. Cam Cannarella, boom, right in front of the legend sign. As he goes up and snares that one, takes away a home run. You get one more look at it right there, right over the retired sign of Mr. Leggett, number 7, who was retired last year for Clemson. Jack Leggett, and Cam Cannarella snares that home run away.
Cam Cannarella, who is second on the team in average, leads Clemson in hits. I mean, what can't this guy do for Clemson as they took 2 out of 3 from Louisville? Second to West Virginia in total wins. What was the nugget?
No. Clemson has 35. They are the leader in wins. West Virginia and a few others, LSU, Arkansas, a couple others have 34.
Okay. The one from our guy from Washington, Malachi
Knight.
Yeah, Malachi Knight. Did you notice he wears number 24 and plays center field in the state of Washington? That's exactly where my head went.
Ken Griffey.
Yes. And that maneuver kind of crashing into the top of the wall.
Yeah.
Reminded me of one play in particular from the 90s when Griffey, now he didn't rob that ball, but there's that image, that still image of him kind of curled up and cradled into the center of the wall. It gave me vibes of that. But just that he's wearing 24 playing in the state of Washington, in the same city, mind you, Seattle, which is where Washington's located. Like the parallels are there. And he plays center field. I mean, it's spectacular. Malachi Knight might be my new favorite collegiate player. We might need to throw him on the all Schass squad.
You want to do it?
Yeah, just for giggles, but more than giggles. It's because he is the modern day Ken Griffey Jr.
All right, so we got to give the all Schass squad update then. If we are adding Malachi Knight, another outfielder, the 6'3", 205-pound senior from Marysville, Washington, transfer from UCLA, first year in Seattle. He has earned himself a spot on the all Schass squad. He is the 5th member of the all Schass squad this year. He is the 3rd outfielder along with James Quinn Irons and Jet Music who's also a right-handed pitcher. So you've got 3 outfielders, an infielder, and your ace is Blake Gillespie of the All-Schass squad in 2025. Congratulations to Malachi Knight.
Yeah, well-deserved ass honors for Malachi Knight, just because he's tapping into the nostalgia and the childhood of one Kyle Schassburger. It's well-deserved. It's beyond deserved. So, and then the Cal State University Monterey Bay, okay?
Yes.
The Monterey Bay one.
Yes.
What's the kid's, do we have his name?
KW Quilisi.
KW Quilisi.
Yes.
Quilisi.
As far as I know, that's how you say it.
All right, my main takeaway from that one is it reminds me also being a kid, being a young teen, going out in the driveway.
Yep.
Standing in front of my dad's pickup truck and just throwing up balls and scaling and falling into the bed of my dad's pickup truck and like climbing the wall, almost as if I have like spikes in my toes where I'm able to, or traction, kind of suction, Velcro, whatever it is. I mean, the way that guy timed that jump to be able to step, scale, and almost Inspector Gadget, just extend and create more length out of his body. It was so well timed. I don't know how you practice that other than what I just described as a kid, just countless moments of climbing walls, whether it's a fake pickup truck bed or at the practice field as a kid, where you're just, or at my grandmother's house in the backyard where she had a tall fence and we're hitting ground balls. And then I'm also trying to pop some over the fence to my little cousins who are a year younger than me, the twins, Amanda and Ashley Shouts, where we would just endlessly play baseball all the time, or basketball or tennis, whatever it may be, even roller hockey in the driveway. But we would practice robbing home runs and seeing how high we can climb and jump over the fence. To me, that's where the practice comes in. And yes. I know that our boy from Monterey Bay certainly prescribed that sort of training method in his childhood. So awesome stuff.
Yeah, that's the play that I would practice as a little leaguer. Mm-hmm. I would go at our fence. I would just hang on the fence and ask my friends to throw me balls and try and catch them. Yeah. That is the play I would do. But it had never happened in a game. The fence was never that large. That fence is huge. That's my takeaway. Is Cal State Monterey Bay is playing with some titanic fences that they got to overcome.
Backyard Baseball Bros, their mission, they believe that every kid who loves baseball should experience the Borgo Ball, not just for its ability to throw MLB caliber pitches, but for the lasting memories you will have playing with your friends or siblings. BackyardBaseballBros.com. The Borgo Ball 4-packs have been restocked. Go to BackyardBaseballBros.com. Certainly many memories being made on the playing field between those 3 outfield related plays and robbing home runs and bringing the baseball back. It all started as being a kid, and the Borgo Ball will certainly help make those dreams become realized, hopefully at a later date. What about the non-P4 squads, Kahn? And I've got a few that I've written down from UC Irvine is certainly the highest ranked team at this point with the highest RPI at 18, next to Coastal Carolina, whose RPI is at 13. But UC Irvine is ranked higher in the polls, if I'm not mistaken, at this stage. But then there's WKU, there's Cal Poly. Where do you sit in terms of, and we give a lot of love to Western Kentucky a week ago, the non-P4 team that you're predicting with 4 weeks remaining in the regular season? Give me a non-P4 vibe check. Who do you like most to come out as one of 16 regional hosts representing the non-P4 schools?
Well, it's a cheap answer because they were a P4 school until last year because it was P5, but it's Oregon State. Like, they're independent.
That's a loophole, bro. That's a loophole.
Yeah, I know. I prefaced it. I have other notes. Don't get me wrong, but it is. If you're going to go non-P4, technically it's Oregon State. They have the highest RPI at 11. Coastal's at 13. UC Irvine is at 20. So you have to give the nod to Oregon State because they are a baseball powerhouse. They are used to hosting. And if you want a brand host name, it's Oregon State. But that is a loophole. I absolutely will give you that. I am of the mind that I think Coastal Carolina probably has the inside track on hosting between them and UC Irvine, but I'd love to see Irvine be a host. I'd love to see it. All right. I just think because the Sun Belt, if I got to go check the conference RPIs on Warren Nolan, but I feel like the Sun Belt has a better conference RPI than the Big West right now. Let me just confirm that real quick here. Yes, the Sun Belt RPI is 7th. The Big West is 11th. So if we're going to look at it that way, the nod goes to Coastal. If you want to look at it that way solely, Western Kentucky actually has a better chance because Conference USA has an RPI of 6. The Sun Belt has an RPI of 7. But I think it's a 2-horse race right now, if you're not including Oklahoma State, between Coastal Carolina and UC Irvine. On the bubble, though, you've got teams like DBU, you've got Cal Poly, you've got Western Kentucky, and don't forget about Northeastern, Schass, who swept Kansas State in 2-game midweek slate last week. All right, Northeastern's on a heater right now. We were begging for a Boston regional not too long ago. We were talking about Boston College, but why not Northeastern? Why not the Huskies? All right.
I spoke too much about Northeastern in the past. I haven't dedicated any of my brain to Northeastern this year. I know you have.
Absolutely.
I like Coastal Carolina. RPI of 13 currently. As you pulled up and showed, the Sun Belt RPI is it's behind Conference USA with Western Kentucky,
7.
Being the leader at this point. But, again, don't forget about Louisiana Tech has won 6 straight weekend series, including 5 straight in CUSA. They won 2 out of 3 again this past weekend against visiting Liberty. They have DBU coming to Ruston to Love Shack this week. It's going to come down to these next few weeks. And then Western Kentucky is coming up later on, and then Jacksonville State for Louisiana Tech. But DBU can get right back into it. Western Kentucky, the thing with them is they won 2 out of 3 this past weekend, are now up to number 17 in the Baseball America rankings, RPI 33 overall. They're just 6-5 in Quad 1. They're not going to have enough Quad 1 opportunities, I think, compared to a team like Coastal Carolina playing out of the Sun Belt and their midweek schedule, which is certainly robust. Now, I know they got housed by Wake Forest last week, but they still have Clemson coming up on the calendar in May. But for Western Kentucky, losing that game against Middle Tennessee State, just one game, they won the series. But that was a Quad 4 loss, just dropping that one game. And that was their first Quad 4 loss of the entire season. So they're now 24-1 in Quad 4 because they dropped one game in spite of winning the series over MTSU. That's going to weigh them down a little bit. So I'm not saying the Bowling Green Regional at the nearby minor league team is completely dead because we know their home facility would not meet the sanctioned requirements, if you will, of being able to host a regional. But I put teams like Irvine and Coastal ahead of them. Now, for Irvine, at 16-2 in the Big West, they got a one-game lead on Cal Poly. They're playing Cal Poly this weekend. That's going to be my favorite series of the weekend to pay attention to out of the Big West. It's massive, but it would be even bigger if Cal Poly had taken care of business this past weekend, and they dropped 2 out of 3 to UC Santa Barbara. So, let's say the Mustangs win the series over the Anteaters. I think that's almost going to cancel out. Now, a lot of other things would need to happen, but I think that's going to cancel out the Big West at being a host and hurt Irvine's chances. Certainly, having lost the series, can they recover? Because Cal Poly lost the series before that to UC Santa Barbara. So Cal Poly with an RPI at 21, 3 spots behind Irvine. And they were swept, Cal Poly was, by UCSB, right? No, they lost 2 of 3. Yeah,
2 of 3.
They lost, they lost 2 or 3. Irvine swept UCSB. So that's where, if you're on the side of wanting the Big West to host, and I'm not saying we're anti-Cal Poly because we had Larry Lee on the show, but if you want the Big West to be a host, their best chance is going to be UC Irvine, having swept UCSB already, who was a ranked team at one point, and they have Cal Poly coming up this weekend. That's at Cal Poly. Now for Coastal, this is my final thing on Coastal. This is just me demonstrating why it is I think they are going to be a team that hosts, not just because of their national ranking right now, which is, what are they, 13, 16, 20?
They're 13th in the RBI.
Okay, RPI. 13th in the RPI. I got Warren Nolan up, so I'm looking at 20th in the coaches poll. But I have the RPI 13 at 30-10, 14-4 in the league. 2-game lead on Sunbelt second place contender Troy.
21 in the top 25.
Okay, 21. So thereabouts. Coastal concludes, this is their weekends coming up in the Sunbelt. At JMU, home to App, home to ULM, at ODU. All 4 of those opponents are atrocious. They're all Quad 3 or worse. That's not going to help you. But what it means is you can't afford to drop any one of those series, I don't believe, unless you do beat Clemson at home coming up on May 7th, I think it is. Either way, early May. You still got Clemson on the midweek schedule. That's the only remaining notable data point that you have that can potentially enhance your resume at this point. Otherwise, just take care of business, sweep everyone, but maybe one of those series, but win them all. And I think Coastal will do enough work against teams that are all quad 3 or worse. I mean, the RPIs are atrocious for those remaining teams in CUSA. So
right, and that's the problem. Is like there are standouts in the Sun Belt, in Conference USA, in the Big West. But if you lose, you trip up, which can happen. Like we mentioned, the SEC cannibalization is a real thing. If these smaller conferences like CUSA, Sun Belt, American, whatever, if you cannibalize each other, it hurts the conference as a whole. Because, like you said, if Cal Poly wins this series this weekend against UC Irvine, that plummets the Indianators' chances of hosting, probably takes the Big West out of hosting contention entirely. Same thing, if Western Kentucky drops a series against a low-level opponent, it plummets them out of the hosting. That'll knock someone out, because there is a P4 team waiting in the wings, wanting to host. But right now, you can't ignore some of these mid-major conference teams like Western Kentucky, like a UC Irvine, like a Coastal, like a DBU, like a Cal Poly, like a Northeastern. You can't ignore some of these teams, and those teams are also waiting in the wings, hoping that Western Kentucky, Coastal Carolina, those teams will drop a game, UC Irvine, so that a DBU can slide into a hosting spot, a Northeastern can slide into a hosting spot, a Louisiana Tech can slide into a hosting spot. It's all a waiting game, but really the name of the game is, if you're a mid-major and you're at this point in the season and you are in contention to possibly host a regional, win. That's it. Just win your games. You just keep winning. Otherwise, you're screwed.
Yeah, win the games remaining on your schedule. You control your own destiny and do that. Are you ready to move to hat tips, dudes, and SDAs and get out?
Yeah. Did you want to take another break, or you want to just go right into it?
No, let's get right into it. Norris McClure of UTSA.
No.
I'm sorry, Kahn. What happened to Tulane this past weekend? I mean, the Roadrunners at home take 2 out of 3 from Norris McClure. Goes 10 of 12 on the weekend. 10 of 12, leading the league, the AAC in batting average, RBI, total bases, slugging, on-base percentage. One of 2 ACC AAC players this week to hit 3 homers. He had a 2-homer game that was included in what was just a dismantling at times. And what was one of those final scores was like 25-6, wasn't it?
25-5.
Yeah, can you remind me? You certainly know way more than I do on this.
It was terrible. UTSA hit the home run cycle in like the second inning. I just want to forget that series ever happened.
25-7 in 7 innings on getaway day. Gosh, you couldn't even. That was the rubber match. And that was the effort that Tulane put forth. I'm going to have to get Corey Gore on the phone for a second time today. I was
going to say, you already talked to him. I figured you'd already brought this up before, but with that game, I tried to remove from my memory bank, and you just brought it back up, and now I'm upset. Okay? We gave up the home run cycle. What are we doing? God. Terrible.
So Norris McClure, the Roadrunner, beep, beep. He is my dude of the week.
I love it. I'm going to go with a man from St. Joseph's, in fact. Owen Petrich is my dude of the week. 8 for 13, 5 homers, 11 RBIs for the Hawks of St. Joseph's. So give it a little tip of the cap to him. And also to the Govs of Austin Peay. Remember Lyle Miller Green? We talked about him last year. I'm going to give it to the entire Austin Peay Governors team, because they are the fastest team in Govs history to reach 30 wins on the season. Austin Peay, I'm trying to get their exact record up, but they reached 30 wins on the season. They are now 30-10, 15-3 in conference play for the Govs of Austin Peay. So they are my dudes of the week.
I'm going to bundle up my hat tip and SDA and then let you finish things up. Praising those who continue to worship at the Glizzy altar. And the latest, those are my words, by the way, but the latest, thank you, Stephen Schock, for being all over the Glizzy and the hot dog related hardware that has been given out across all of college baseball. The Delaware Blue Hens are the latest. Tonight, Tuesday, April 22nd, there's a customized title belt, championship belt, kind of that WrestleMania theme here that we're going with, that will be awarded to the Delaware student who eats the most hot dogs on Dollar Dog Night. Dollar Dog Night. Whoever eats the most dogs, 6:30, Bob Hanna Stadium against St. Joe's. Speaking of St. Joe's, taking on Delaware, be there and win yourself a customized belt for being the Glizzy King for one night only. That is my hat tip to the Blue Hens. And then social display of affection. Did you see this, Kahn? With Austin Foley of Ole Miss homering in the series finale at South Carolina on Saturday, helping the Rebels to avoid the sweep in a 12-2 win. Mm-hmm. He hit a grand slam. I believe it was in the first inning. And his mother, Jennifer, was on the concourse at South Carolina at Founders Park. She was recording prior to the start of the at-bat. He's at the plate. She's recording from the outfield. Like, she's rolling.
Yeah.
And the ball bounces to her right up against, I'm not sure if it's the scoreboard or some other facade on the concourse. She's still recording, grabs the ball, turns, pans the camera, and she got it. And she got it live in the moment, recording it all on camera. Her son hits a grand slam. Mom is there to record it all from center field, and she snagged it. Just, how can you not be romantic about baseball? Like, that is so
That's
cool.
awesome.
We got to make sure we get that in the OneNote for Hoover because, man, that's hard to be able to time that and to be able to cherish that and have that moment forever that your mom has it on video. God, just spectacular. The odds of that one, man, they can't be high.
I completely agree with you there. I did not see that, but now I'm going to go watch that video after we wrap up here in just a couple of minutes. My hat tip, got to throw it to the parents. All right. Came into town. Great weekend. Helped me with the purchase of Henrietta a little bit. So big hat tip to the parents for a fun weekend of food, fellowship, family time, friends. It was a great weekend. Got to tip the cap to the parents as always for all their contributions to my life. So thank you, parents.
Yes, thank you, Larry and Amy. And Larry, I will read your text at some point over the next 48 hours.
Yeah, it literally said I do not because I said that he's going to send podcast commentary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it said.
All right, man. Well, I got nothing else, man. I got to get ready for Disney World. I got to pack. Actually, I did pack last night, and I did not utilize as much help of my other half as I thought I would. So I'm proud actually of my own achievement of getting my bag packed. And because I'm not flying, I've realized I can pack maybe a couple other ancillary items or, make game time decisions of what exactly I'm wearing. It's going to be hot. Like I said, every day we're getting a package that prepares us for war or the end of time or COVID. It feels like it's just like we're preparing for the end of the world. And all we're doing is going to Disney World for 3 full days, driving down on Wednesday, driving back on Sunday. But it makes me look less forward to it because we're being prepared to just, prepare for the worst in terms of the elements, the walking around all day long with two, basically 10-year-olds and the crowds and the weights and the heat and all the
use that fast
elements.
pass, man. Go single rider if you have to.
Oh, we're gonna have everything. We're gonna have all the tools, all the bells and whistles to be able to hit this the way a family should hit Disney head on. But at what cost? Will it be my right knee? Will it be my Achilles tendon? Will it be some nipple chafing? I mean, will I lose an eye? Will my mustache become, disjointed? I have no idea. Well, just think of my armpit situation, Kahn. With the amount of sweat. I mean, how am I going to get deodorant in there that's going to still be in one piece, throughout the day? So I don't know.
It will not be. Have a great time. I'll leave you with this. If we're talking about my dad trying to catch a home run on the concourse like Austin Foley's mom did, would never happen. 1, my dad's not that athletic, and 2, I never hit a home run in my baseball career. We'll close it up on that. Schass, enjoy Disney. Trip Hurd and I will be back with you on Thursday here on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Fingers. Until then, enjoy the midweek madness.